Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Stormwind. It's the heart of the Alliance and in my personal opinion, the greatest capital city the World of Warcraft has ever produced. I love everything about it, from its layout, to its colourfulness, to the amazing architecture and exquisite vistas that surround it. But the Stormwind that you're seeing on the screen right now is the one that was created for Cataclysm and flying. When Classic WoW comes back into play, there's no flying, and the Stormwind there is actually going to be considerably different. And in this video, I'm going to show you some of the changes to the zones, which you're just going to have to get used to. So let's start off here in the Trade District. In front of me, you can see the auction house, and I'll even stick a nice big red arrow pointing the entranceway and exit points for it. Everything else should look pretty familiar if you're a current player of the game. So if we jump to the classic servers, you'll see there's no entranceway to the auction house here at all. The major reason being that Ironforge was the only place that you could use an auction house. It was patch 1.9 that made it go across all the capital cities, and when it did arrive in Stormwind, here was the actual entranceway. So if we pop inside, you'll see a much different aesthetic. Lots of wood, lots of barrels, very rustic indeed. And I can attest to many a pitched battle being fought inside this very building when the Horde came to play in Classic. Now, just outside, back on the live servers now, there is a nice little snicket. If we follow it up and hang a right, we'll eventually come to the Barber Shop. The Barber Shop, which arrived, I think, in Wrath of the Lich King, maybe late Burning Crusade, but certainly not in Classic. So back on the Classic servers, if we do the same trip again, going through the snicket and hanging a right, the building is actually pretty much intact as we know it, but inside, completely different. No Barber Shop, just a couple of chairs and a couple of bookcases for your viewing pleasure. Now, the bank is another big change too. Very nicely laid out here, very posh. And then right at the end, you have the vault door leading through to all your guild banking shenanigans as well. However, flipping back to Classic now, completely different look as we look inside the front gate. And then inside, you're actually going to have to queue up to get to one of the attendants. And my goodness me, this looks very, very different indeed. So whereas we're seeing multiple changes in the Trade District, the Mage District was actually relatively similar to how it existed in Classic and Current. In actual fact, the Illidari arriving in the Legion patch is pretty much the only difference that we really see here. If we flip to the Classic version of this area, this is what we're greeted with. Some buildings which block the way. Other than that, nothing really of interest to talk about. But believe it or not, this most certainly is. And we are in the area on the live servers that connect the Trade District to Old Town. And we're just looking at a wall. Flick it to Classic, this is the exact same area. Much, much different indeed. And instead of the wall, we see a portcullis. And behind that portcullis, there is an instance portal. Now, this instance portal was actually created, believe it or not, for player housing. The idea of player housing was going to be introduced in vanilla. Eventually, though, the plan was scrapped. However, the design for it was already put in and left in Stormwind until it was removed when the Cataclysm patch arrived. So now we're here, let's deal with Old Town. And like the Mage Quarter, there aren't that many changes, but there is one major change. And that involves these two buildings here. The SI7 Centre on the left and the Command Centre on the right. And all that beautiful grass in between. Jump now to Classic. The entranceways remain intact for the most part, but the buildings have actually completely switched positions, with the Command Centre now being on the left-hand side, whereas the SI Centre was here before. And as you can see, walled off, paved floor, not a scrap of grass anywhere, and a very, very low-res part of Stormwind Keep behind it. Not the most attractive view. And then on the right hand side where the command center is on live, we have the SI7 building. Again, walled off, concrete floor, not a scrap of grass. And you can see in a lot of these shots, no mountains in the background either. Onwards to the Dwarven District, and again, not many minor changes, but one major change. Here on the live servers, auction house on the left, bank on the right, and we have this exit way which leads around the side of Stormwind Keep. We've got the Pandaren area and also all the portals that go to the Cataclysm various zones. Flip it now to Classic. The building on the right hand side isn't anything whatsoever. It's just like a Dwarven building inside. Dwarven flags, but no bank, no auction house. And on the left of it, where the auction house is on live, nothing whatsoever. We have a crane with a big hook. And, as you can also see, there is absolutely no exit way because there was no way to leave the Stormwind because there was no back to it. We couldn't go round the side to the keep. The Cathedral District continues the trend of one major change, although in the case of this zone, it is a very, very major change. If we just go around the side of the cathedral, we have this very nice lined pathway. Trees in the middle, walkways on the left and right hand sides, lamps and all this beautiful stuff. Get to the end and we have a fountain. If I was to turn behind me, I'd actually be able to exit towards the park and also towards the harbour. But if I continue the way that we can see, we're eventually going to come into the graveyard and all of this that it can bring. And eventually, of course, I could mosey on around the side of Stormwind Keep. That same walkway around the side of the cathedral on Classic, and it leads to a very abrupt dead end. There is no back to this Stormwind in this iteration of the game. Look, here we are at Stormwind Harbour on live again. What a wonderful place this is. Flip back over to Classic. Sorry, nothing. Walled off, it's a brick wall. There is no back to Stormwind. So from all these zones that haven't changed that much apart from one big alteration, let's just go to a zone which is constantly altering from top to bottom. I am of course talking about the Park District. This has undergone a hell of a history throughout its life. We're soon going to see what it used to look like in Classic, but then of course it was destroyed during Deathwing's rampage of Stormwind and eventually only got rebuilt for Legion and now acts as a monument to the fallen King Varian Wrynn. But this was a very controversial decision because a lot of people really, really liked their Classic Park District, and therefore having it destroyed caused rather a lot of debate. But first things first, here is the external viewpoint of the Park District as seen from the Mage Quarter area. This is the entranceway here, and then if we follow it round the corner, we'll see another entranceway right here as well. Notice the green roofing, which I'm going to bring up very shortly indeed. Now, if we go inside of the Park District, you'll notice that the roofing now changes to a pinkish purpley colour. The reason why I think they did this is they thought possibly that another green roofing would be overkill because you'd have all the trees, all the bushes, all the grass, and then green fruit. Maybe it was just too much green, so they thought, sod it, we've got the green around the outside, let's put pink on the inside. But one of the reasons why this was so controversial to destroy was a lot of people just came here to chill. This was a great meeting point, a good social point for people, and also a major RP point for a lot of people as well, as also being one of the very few Night Elf areas that you could actually visit, with the big moon well being slap bang in the centre. For all the beauty that the current park brings to the game as a lovely monument to the late King Varian Wrynn, I'm absolutely convinced there's going to be a lot of people who are very, very happy indeed to see their old school Park District return in Classic. And that just leaves us one final place to visit in Stormwind, and I'm talking about the Keep. Personally, I think Stormwind Keep is a thing of absolute beauty. And I don't find anyone that says different. It's like all your childhood fantasies in one big lump. And just look at this ostentatious entranceway leading through to the front door with the statue of Varian Wind slap bang in the middle of it. And then, of course, this massive throne room with poor Ickle Anduin Wyn on his own by the throne. Do not adjust your sets. Yep, this is the classic external view taken from the very point that I did the first shot of the live version. There is no ostentatious entranceway. There is simply a door and a pathway leading up to a much smaller throne room here, which you can see has an exit point at the back with another room. And then we have a very small, even smaller King Anduin in the middle. To the right of him, we've got Bolvar. And to the left, guess who that is? That is a Nixia, folks. Hashtag spoilers? I don't know. But all the rooms that seem to lead off from it are a lot of nothing. Just big, open, vacuous spaces. No big tables, no big war rooms, no planning. They're very, very vacant indeed. In actual fact, there is a whole room dedicated to, guess what? More statues. And while we're here, who dis? Okay, we've already had that video. It's really, really weird indeed. So be prepared for some really odd changes, especially in the keep for Stormwind. So there we go. There's some, not all, some of the changes that you should expect between the current versions of Stormwind and also the classic version of Stormwind when it arrives. And if you want to see more of these type of videos, let me know in the comments section down below. And I hope you enjoyed this vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links, they're in the description down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care, everyone. Bye for now.